Nobody knew exactly when the death started. Some people said it had been happening for years. Others claimed the girls were simply unlucky. A few whispered about curses. But there was one thing nobody could explain. Every single victim had one thing in common. Before they disappeared, before their families received those heartbreaking phone calls, they had all given their clothes to the same man, the dry cleaner. And by the time anyone discovered the truth, more than 300 girls had already lost their lives. The LASU Ojo Axis was always alive in its own chaotic way. Early mornings didn't begin quietly. They arrived with the sound of impatient danfo buses struggling through narrow roads, okadas weaving dangerously between vehicles, and students rushing out of hostels half awake, half late, and fully stressed. Somewhere in the distance, generators coughed to life, competing with the heat that was already building before 8 a.m. And in the middle of all that movement, there was him. A man everyone knew. His name was Baba Spaku, or so they had called him for years. No one had ever bothered to find out his actual name. Every day, Baba Spaku could be seen before the sun fully settled into the sky, walking slowly through the LASU hostel routes and pushing a slightly worn metal cart that creaked with every step. On that cart were bags of carefully folded clothes, perfectly arranged as though they had come straight from the manufacturers. He would stop in front of hostels and call out calmly, "Laundry." Not loud, not aggressive, just certain. And the moment his voice landed, it was as if people had already been waiting behind their doors. Girls rushed downstairs immediately, some calling his name like he was part of their daily routine. "Baba Spako, I'm here," he would smile. Always the same smile, soft, slow, unreadable. "Your clothes will come back as good as brand new," he would say. And people believed him, because he always delivered. Every stain disappeared, every fabric carried the scent of fresh jasmine. No matter how bad the stain looked, Baba Spaku made it vanish completely. That was how his name became legend around the LASU hostels. Students talked about him, lecturers trusted him without question. Even parents who had never met him indirectly praised him through their children. They would say, "He is very good. He handles clothes like magic." Yet, there was one strange thing about him. He never washed men's clothes. Not once. At first, people found it amusing. Eventually, they turned it into a joke. Maybe Baba Spakul is afraid of men's dirt. Maybe female clothes are easier. Maybe he only likes female customers. Nobody took it seriously. After all, everyone has preferences. Or so they thought. Mama Gold Hostel stood along the LASU Ojo Street, tucked within a cluster of female hostels where noise, ambition, and youthful chaos blended into everyday life. It was one of the most popular female hostels in the area. The building housed hundreds of students from different states. Some came from wealthy homes and some struggled financially. But inside those walls, everyone shared the same dream: to graduate, to build a better future. One bright Saturday morning, 3 new students arrived at the hostel gate. Their names were Cynthia, Debbie, and Amara. The 3 girls met during registration and quickly became friends. Cynthia, who came from wealth, was the only daughter of a famous business tycoon. Luxury followed her everywhere, and her parents revealed it before anyone even asked. Debbie was the most cheerful in the group. She was always the first to start a conversation. Her father was one of the biggest consultants in Lagos Teaching Hospital, a fact that gave her a certain recognition. Amara, on the other hand, was quiet and observant. Unlike the other 2, she came from a humble home. Her father worked in the local market, carrying heavy goods for customers just to survive each day. While her roommates enjoyed parties and social events, Amara dreamt of becoming an architect. As they unpacked their belongings, Debbie collapsed dramatically on her bed. "I finally escaped my parents," Cynthia laughed. "Same here," Amara smiled. You people haven't even spent one day here and you're already celebrating. Still, it's freedom, both girls shouted. The room filled with laughter. Everything felt perfect, a fresh start. But none of them knew they had just walked into a nightmare. A few days later, Baba Sparkle arrived at Mama Gold Hostel. His voice echoed through the compound. Laundry. The girls immediately rushed downstairs. Some carried baskets, some carried bags.
Debbie peeped through the window. There he is. Who? Amara asked. The famous laundry guy. Cynthia jumped up. I've heard about him. Students in my department all talk about his washing skills. She grabbed a pile of clothes. We should try him. Amara continued reading. You people go ahead. Within minutes, Debbie and Cynthia were downstairs carrying baskets filled with dirty clothes. The line stretched across the compound as students chatted excitedly while handing over their laundry. Baba Sparkle greeted everyone warmly, calling many of them by name. When Debbie and Cynthia finally reached him, he smiled. New students? Yes, Debbie replied. Welcome. He collected their clothes and carefully wrote down their room number. His smile seemed friendly, harmless, normal. Neither girl noticed the way his eyes lingered for a moment longer than necessary. 3 days later, the clothes returned. Debbie screamed happily. Look at this! Even Amara had to admit the results were impressive. Every item looked brand new. The clothes smelled fresh. The girls could not stop praising him. You see, Cynthia said proudly, I told you. Amara nodded. He is good. Outside, Baba Sparkle continued moving from room to room, collecting and delivering clothes with the same soft smile that never seemed to leave his face. The same way he had done for years. 2 weeks later, something unexpected happened. Cynthia woke up feeling weak. At first, nobody noticed how serious it was. To them, it was probably stress, maybe the weather. But by evening, her condition worsened. She developed a high fever. The next morning, she could barely stand. Debbie looked frightened. We should take her to the hospital. Amara agreed. They immediately contacted her family, and by afternoon, Cynthia's parents had arrived to take her home. The room felt strangely empty after she left. For 2 days, they waited for updates, but no news came. Then, one morning, the phone rang. Debbie answered. Her cheerful expression vanished almost instantly. What? Silence. No. Amara looked up. What happened? Debbie slowly lowered the phone. Tears filled her eyes. Cynthia is dead. The room fell silent. For several seconds, neither girl said a word. The words felt impossible. Cynthia was young, healthy, full of life. How could she be gone? Just like that. The funeral took place 3 days later. Students attended in shock. Many cried. Some struggled to believe what had happened. Even after returning to school, the sadness remained. Room 23 no longer felt the same. One bed sat empty. One voice was missing. Yet life continued. Lectures resumed. Assignments piled up. The world moved forward. Slowly, the pain began to fade, until another girl became sick, then another, and another. Each case looked different, but the ending remained the same. Whispers began spreading in the hostel. Girls gathered in small groups, discussing theories and exchanging rumors. One evening, Amara overheard a conversation near the staircase. My cousin stayed here 2 years ago. Really? She told me girls used to die mysteriously. The second girl lowered her voice. Do you think the hostel is cursed? I don't know. The conversation ended as quickly as it began, but the words stayed with Amara. That night, she couldn't sleep. Something felt wrong, very wrong. Weeks passed. Then another strange problem emerged. Girls started complaining about missing underwear. At first, nobody paid attention. People misplaced things all the time. But the complaints kept increasing. My underwear disappeared. Mine too. I thought I was the only one. The hostel caretaker blamed careless roommates. Roommates blamed thieves. Life continued. Nobody suspected anything. Nobody noticed the pattern, except Amara. And soon, she would see something that would change everything. Something that would drag her into the darkest secret Mama Gold Hostel had ever known.
You're watching African Tales by Chizo, where every story comes with a life lesson.
The following week felt unusually quiet. Ever since Cynthia's death, room 23 had lost its energy. The laughter was gone. The late-night jokes had stopped. Even Debbie, who usually found a reason to smile about everything, seemed different. One rainy evening, she sat on her bed staring at her phone. Amara looked up from her textbook. "You haven't spoken for almost an hour." Debbie forced a smile. "I was just looking at Cynthia's pictures." Amara understood, beside her to console her. Outside, rain tapped softly against the windows. Then Debbie suddenly frowned. "Amara, have you noticed something strange?" Amara lowered her book. "What?" "I mean exactly what I said." Debbie stood up and opened her wardrobe. She pointed inside. "I bought 6 new pairs at the beginning of the semester, but now there are just 3 left." "Did you misplace them?" Debbie shook her head. "No. Maybe during laundry?" "I don't know." She sighed heavily. "A lot of girls have been complaining about the same thing." Amara remembered hearing similar conversations around the hostel. "Have you reported it to the caretaker?" she asked. Debbie laughed. "He'll just say somebody stole them." The next morning, Baba Sparkle arrived. As usual, students crowded around him, handing over their dirty clothes, while he greeted everyone warmly. The smile that never seemed to fade. From the 3rd-floor corridor, Amara watched quietly. Something about him made her restless, but she could not explain why. He simply collected the clothes from the girls and left. As Amara was about to look away, she paused when she overheard a conversation nearby. A girl standing close to the corridor was speaking to her roommate. "My roommate lost 2 pairs. Mine lost 3. You too?" The girls walked away. Amara remained where she stood. The same complaint again. Missing underwear, dead students. It was always the same kind of story spreading through the hostel. The pieces didn't fit together. 3 days later, Debbie developed a fever. At first, she dismissed it. It's probably malaria, but by evening she looked terrible. Her face had become pale. Sweat covered her forehead. Amara sat beside her bed. "You need to see a doctor." "I'll be fine." "You don't look fine." Debbie attempted to laugh, but the effort exhausted her. For the first time, fear crept into Amara's chest. The scene felt familiar. Too familiar. Exactly the way Cynthia's illness had started. By midnight, Debbie could barely sit upright. Amara immediately called her parents. The following morning, they arrived and took her away. As the vehicle disappeared through the hostel gate, Amara felt a cold sensation run through her body. The same thing had happened with Cynthia. The exact same thing. Something wasn't right. That afternoon, classes ended earlier than usual. Most students were still on campus, and the hostel compound remained unusually quiet. Amara returned earlier than usual. As she walked around the back of the building, movement caught her attention. Someone was standing beside the generator area. She immediately recognized him, Baba Sparkle. He appeared to be sorting clothes. At first, there was nothing unusual about that. Then, Amara noticed something strange, very strange. He separated several small items from the pile, women's underwear. Instead of placing them with the other dirty clothes in his cart, he slipped them into a black nylon bag, one by one, secretly, as if he didn't want anyone to see. Amara instantly stepped behind a concrete pillar. Her heartbeat quickened. After gathering the underwear, he tied them together as if he were forming a long rope. Then he looked around, placed them inside the black nylon bag, and hid it beneath his cart. For several seconds, Amara remained frozen. Confusion filled her mind. Why would a dry cleaner do that? Perhaps he intended to return them later. Maybe there was an innocent explanation. Yet, his behavior suggested otherwise. That evening, she couldn't focus on her books. Again and again, she replayed the scene in her mind. The black bag. The way Baba Sparkle had tied the girls' underwear together. Nothing about it felt normal. Then her phone rang. It was Debbie's mother. Amara answered immediately. "Auntie, how is she?" The woman sounded exhausted. "The doctors are running tests." "Is she getting better?" A long silence followed. Then came the answer. "No." Fear gripped Amara's chest. Cynthia had started this way. Now, Debbie. What if she died too? The thought made her feel sick. The next day, Amara decided to ask questions. Carefully, without attracting attention. She approached an older student named Gloria. Gloria had lived in Mama Gold Hostel for 4 years. If anyone knew the history of the place, it was her. They sat together outside a small cafeteria. After a few minutes of casual conversation, Amara finally asked, "Have girls really been dying here for years?" Gloria's expression changed instantly. "Who told you that?" "So, it's true." The older student looked around before lowering her voice. "People don't like talking about it." "Why?" "Because nobody knows what's happening." Amara leaned forward. "How many girls?" Gloria hesitated. "Too many." The answer sent chills through Amara. "What happened?" Gloria shook her head. Every case looked different. Different how? Different illnesses, different circumstances, no obvious connection. Amara remained silent. Then Gloria added something unexpected. But there was always one rumor. What rumor? Suddenly, Gloria froze in fear, as though she had seen something. Without another word, she quickly walked away. For the rest of the day, Amara kept thinking. That evening, she visited another hostel, then another, then another. Everywhere she went, she heard similar stories. Missing underwear, mysterious illnesses, girls who never returned, strange rumors, no evidence and no answers. One conversation stayed with her more than the others. A final year student looked directly into her eyes and said, "If I were you, I'd mind my business." Amara frowned. "What do you mean?" The student paused, said nothing, then stood up and walked away, leaving Amara alone with her thoughts. That night, sleep refused to come. Around midnight, she sat by the window, staring into the darkness. Then she noticed headlights, several headlights, vehicles, expensive vehicles, slowly driving down a distant road. That wasn't unusual. What caught her attention was their direction. They were heading toward the neighborhood where Baba Sparkle's shop was located, one after another. Luxury SUVs, dark-colored sedans, vehicles that are far too expensive for that area. Amara watched until they disappeared. Then a question entered her mind. What kind of visitors would a simple dry cleaner receive at this hour? And why did they keep coming, one after another, like they were attending some secret meeting? Amara's pulse quickened. For the first time, she knew that there was more to Baba Sparkle's never-fading smiles. The sensible thing would have been to forget everything, focus on school, focus on her future, ignore the rumors. But when she thought about Cynthia, when she thought about Debbie fighting for her life in a hospital bed, she knew she couldn't walk away. That night, she made a decision to follow Baba Sparkle. Little did she know, someone had already started watching her too. The following morning, Amara woke up exhausted. She had barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the same things. Cynthia's funeral, Debbie's pale face, the missing underwear, the black nylon bags, and those expensive cars disappearing into the night. Something connected all of them. She could feel it. The problem was proving it. By noon, classes ended and students flooded out of lecture halls. Some headed toward restaurants, others rushed back to their hostels. Amara walked alone across campus until a familiar voice interrupted her thoughts. Amara! She turned. Tunde jogged toward her. Tunde and Amara had known each other since the days of their orientation camp. He was one of the few people she genuinely trusted. They often studied together. Sometimes they spent hours discussing assignments after lectures. One look at her face and he frowned. You look terrible. Amara sighed. I haven't been sleeping. What happened? She hesitated. For a moment, she considered saying nothing. The less people knew, the safer they would be. But she knew she couldn't do it alone. Tunde, I need to tell you something. They sat outside a small spot at their faculty, and she told him everything. The constant deaths in the hostel, the missing underwear, the expensive vehicles, every detail. When she finished, Tunde's expression became serious. You think the dry cleaner is involved? I don't know. That's a serious accusation. I know, Amara said, lowering her voice. Tunde rubbed his chin thoughtfully. Have you told anybody else? No. Good. Amara was surprised. Why good? Because if you are wrong, you will be in serious trouble. That evening, Tunde accompanied her back to the hostel area. They stayed hidden near a roadside food stand. From there, they could observe without attracting attention. Around 5 p.m., Baba Spakula appeared. Just as always, smiling, greeting students, collecting laundry, looking completely harmless. Tunde watched carefully. That's him? Yes. He doesn't look dangerous. That's exactly what everyone says. The man continued walking from door to door, collecting dirty laundry. Nothing seemed suspicious, nothing unusual. Yet, Amara couldn't shake the feeling that they were looking at a mask, a carefully crafted disguise. For 3 days, they observed him. Morning, afternoon, evening. His routine never changed. Laundry collection, laundry delivery, friendly conversations, smiles, jokes, nothing more. By the 4th day, even Tunde began doubting. Maybe we're wrong. This man is like a saint. Students love him. I don't think he can hurt a fly. Amara wasn't convinced. Then something happened. Just before sunset, Baba Sparkle finished his deliveries. Instead of heading home, he pushed his cart toward a narrow side street. Tunde immediately straightened. He's going somewhere. Without speaking, they followed, keeping their distance, careful not to be seen. The streets gradually became quieter. The crowds disappeared. The surroundings became more isolated. Eventually, Baba Sparkle reached his small laundry shop, a modest structure squeezed between 2 abandoned buildings. Nothing special. From the outside, it looked exactly like a normal laundry business. Baba Sparkle entered. The door closed. Minutes passed. 30 minutes. An hour. The place remained silent. Tunde checked his watch. Maybe he lives there. Amara wasn't convinced. Let's wait.
The night slowly settled over Lagos, and the neighborhood grew quieter. Then suddenly, headlights appeared. A black SUV. It drove slowly toward the laundry shop. Amara sat upright. The vehicle stopped directly in front of the building. A man stepped out. Even from a distance, his expensive agbada was obvious. He glanced around before entering. The door closed behind him. 5 minutes later, another vehicle arrived. Then another. And another. Luxury cars, one after another, exactly as Amara had described. Tunde stared in disbelief.
What kind of dry cleaner receives visitors like this? Amara didn't answer. She was already thinking the same thing. For nearly 2 hours, the vehicles continued arriving. Some carried businessmen. Others carried heavily built men who looked more like bodyguards. None stayed outside for long. All disappeared into the building. Then Tunde tapped Amara. "We should leave." Amara shook her head. "No. We've seen enough. Not yet. Amara, I need proof." The determination in her voice worried him. The next evening, they returned, this time with a plan. Tunde would remain outside. Amara would sneak into the building to find out what was going on inside. Shortly before midnight, they took their positions. Tunde remained hidden behind an uncompleted building. Amara moved carefully through the darkness. Her heartbeat thundered inside her chest. Every sound seemed louder than normal. Every shadow looked threatening. The closer she got, the stronger the strange feeling became. When she reached the building, she froze. The laundry shop wasn't the entire building. Behind it stood an abandoned warehouse, completely hidden from the main road. Amara's eyes widened. Nobody could see it from outside, which meant nobody knew it existed. The warehouse stretched deep into the darkness. Several expensive vehicles were parked outside the compound, more than she had expected. As Amara slowly moved around the warehouse, she noticed a narrow door near the back standing slightly open. Every nerve in her body screamed at her to leave, but curiosity pushed her forward. Carefully, she walked inside. Rows of shelves filled the warehouse. Thousands of items covered them: shoes, jewelry, photographs of ladies in their 20s, belongings from hundreds of girls. Amara's breath caught. Then, her eyes landed on something even worse. Large, transparent containers filled with women's underwear. Hundreds, maybe thousands, different colors and sizes, all carefully arranged. Her stomach turned. Then, suddenly, she saw Baba Spako. He stood at the center of the warehouse, no longer smiling, no longer friendly. The man looked completely different, cold, dangerous. Several men surrounded him. Among them were wealthy-looking businessmen. Some wore traditional attire and designer suits. Amara stood at the corner, straining to hear fragments of their conversation. New supplies, students, payment, next delivery. A chill ran down her spine. Whatever was happening inside, it was much bigger than she had imagined. Then, Amara turned and noticed another room, a smaller section hidden behind a metal door. The door opened briefly, and Amara nearly gasped when she saw what was inside. Several bodies lined up inside. Charms hung from the walls. Strange objects covered tables. Candles flickered. Red cloth hanging on the wall. Smoke drifted through the air. The sight sent fear shooting through her body. Her hands began trembling. This wasn't an ordinary meeting. It was obvious that Baba Spako was connected to all those missing girls all these years. Amara quickly pulled out her phone. She began recording photos, videos, anything she could capture. Her hands shook uncontrollably, but she forced herself to continue. A few more seconds, just a few more. Then she would run to the police. Or so she thought. As she stepped backward, her foot struck something. A glass jar. The jar tipped, fell, and shattered on the floor. The sound exploded through the warehouse. Then a voice shouted, "Who's outside?" Amara's blood ran cold. Another voice followed, "Check the back." The men rushed toward the rear entrance. Amara turned and ran, as fast as she could. Her phone vibrated inside her hand. A message from Tunde. "Where are you?" As she was about to open the door, a powerful hand grabbed her arm. She screamed, trying to fight back, but there were too many of them. Within seconds, they dragged her through the warehouse doors. The room was filled with the bones of girls who never made it home, girls whose parents were still waiting for answers to this day. Tears filled Amara's eyes. Then she saw him, Baba Spako, standing in the middle of the warehouse, watching her, smiling. Not the friendly smile student knew. This smile was different. The smile of a man who had hidden behind a mask for years. The men forced Amara into a chair and tied her wrists. Her heart pounded, but she refused to look afraid. If today was her last day, she refused to go down as a coward. Baba Spako slowly approached. He stopped directly in front of her. Then he smiled again. You know, Amara, you have been on my list for a very long time. He tilted his head slightly. You are clever. Very clever. As he walked around her, he continued speaking. The moment you arrived at Mama Gold Hostel, I noticed you. Amara frowned. You knew I have been watching you? Baba Spako chuckled. Yes, but I am always one step ahead of you. He continued pacing around her. Unlike the other girls, you have been very observant. I tried to get to you many times, but you never agreed to let me do your laundry. His expression darkened. You ask questions, and that makes you dangerous. Amara clenched her fists. You murdered those girls. The smile disappeared from his face. For the first time, his eyes revealed something darker, something evil. Yes. The answer came so easily that it shocked her. No guilt, no regret. Amara stared at him. 300 girls. Her voice trembled. 300 innocent girls. Baba Spako sighed. Innocent? Then he laughed. A slow, disturbing laugh. Do you know what innocence gets you in this world? Nobody answered. Nothing. He spread his arms. You think I built all this by being innocent? His eyes moved around the warehouse. You see those expensive cars outside? Amara remained silent. You see those wealthy men? He pointed toward the men gathered around them. Politicians, businessmen, powerful people. They all want power and wealth, so I provide them with human parts they use for their rituals. His voice grew louder. Nobody comes into this world to suffer. I refused to be poor. I saw an opportunity, so I took it. Amara stared at him in disgust. You are a monster. The smile vanished completely. No, I am a survival. Amara felt her stomach turn. Every word made her hate him more. You will never get away with this. Baba Spako laughed, the kind of laugh that made Amara even more afraid. Who will stop me? The police? I have eyes everywhere. Outside the warehouse, Tunde's anxiety continued to grow. Something was wrong. Very wrong. Amara should have returned by now. He checked his phone again. No message, no call, nothing. Then he heard the crash. Faint, but unmistakable. His heart skipped. The sound had come from the warehouse. Without hesitation, he pulled out his phone and immediately called the police. At first, they were skeptical. A hidden warehouse, a criminal society, a famous dry cleaner. It sounded unbelievable. No one had ever mentioned a warehouse in that area. But Tunde refused to back down. He explained everything.
The deaths, the missing girls, the suspicious vehicles, and finally, he mentioned one thing.
There is a girl inside. The officer became silent. Tunde continued, If you don't come now, they may kill her. Inside the warehouse, Baba Spako looked down at Amara. His smile slowly faded. You know too much. One of the men stepped forward. What should we do with her? Amara's heart pounded. Baba Spako smiling wickedly. Before he could answer, the warehouse doors shook violently. A thunderous voice echoed from outside. Police! The entire warehouse froze. Then panic erupted. What? Police? How? The doors exploded inward. Armed officers stormed inside. Everybody down. Don't move. Police! Chaos erupted instantly. Some men tried to run through the back door. Others reached for weapons. The officers surrounded them one by one. The wealthy businessmen, the native politicians, the entire operation collapsed before their eyes. Amara watched in disbelief. One officer rushed toward her. It's okay. He quickly untied the ropes. You're safe now. For the first time that night, tears rolled down her face. Not from fear, from relief. It was over. Finally over. The warehouse was searched until sunrise. The discoveries shocked everyone. Pictures of missing girls, lifeless bodies, thousands of female underwear. News spread across Lagos within hours. Reporters arrived from everywhere. The story dominated headlines. People couldn't believe it. The famous dry cleaner they all trusted, the man who smiled every morning, he has been behind all the deaths in the neighborhood. As officers escorted Baba Spako toward a police vehicle, journalists surrounded the scene. Parents of the victims flooded the area, crying. Some attempted to attack him. Officers held them back. Yet, Baba Spako remained strangely calm, almost too calm. Then one reporter approached him. What do you have to say? The crowd became quiet. The Baba Spako smiled. Then he leaned forward and whispered something that sent a shiver through everyone who heard it. It is not over yet. This is only the beginning. Gasps spread through the crowd. Then officers immediately pushed him into the vehicle and drove away. Weeks later, Debbie recovered. Against all odds, she survived. She returned to school. Tunde became a hero among students. Life slowly returned to the hostel. The fear began to fade, but some questions never disappeared. The warehouse had been shut down and criminals had all been arrested. Yet, investigators kept discovering missing records, unidentified names. It was almost as if someone was out there watching, and nobody knew who. To this day, nobody knows whether that warehouse was truly the headquarters or merely one branch of something much larger. And sometimes, just before dawn, students of Mama Gold Hostel still claim to still hear his voice shouting, "Laundry." And perhaps, somewhere out there, it was just the beginning.